The weighted pullover trains the shoulders both in an active and a passive range. The first moment where we lift this weight, we are active, and when we allow the weight to pull us down, we are passive and relaxed. Now, make sure that when you first lift the weight, you stay super active in the shoulders and the triceps. When you're lowering, you can relax and only go as far as you are currently able to. It doesn't matter if you're not getting as low as I am here. The most important thing is this first part where you lift the weight. So you lift and you hold actively, and then you allow the weight to pull you over as far as you currently can. When you come back, you also stay active in this top position for a couple of seconds. So it's active, into passive and relaxed, pulling up with the hips and staying active. You can even just try to stay with the active position for a few reps until you get more comfortable holding it there. The prone shoulder dislocates are a fantastic exercise to put the shoulders through its full range of motion. You want to assume a grip wide enough that allows you to keep the elbows locked the whole time. Make sure that you go through all of the motions of the shoulders as I'm doing here: elevation, retraction, depression, and then reverse the motion back. Keep the core nice and tight and don't involve your lower back. Laying down makes it a lot more difficult than standing up because we don't have gravity to assist. The behind the neck press is another great active exercise that requires you to use your active mobility. You want to squeeze the core, squeeze your legs together, and keep pressing the stick up and down as you keep your shoulders, elbows, and wrists off the ground. Think about pressing a big bar over your head or pulling down as in a pull down. Shoulders stay elevated and retracted. The shoulder extensions on the box. You want to tuck your pelvis, do not arch your lower back with this one. Hold the core nice and tight, and then you want to think about pressing the armpits or the chest as low into the floor as possible. Press your hands into the box, and as you go up and down, you want to have the sensation that you are doing small crunches with your upper back. So the upper back here is fully arched, and at the top, you think about rounding your upper back. Keep going up and down. Over time, you're going to be able to get lower and lower in this position. The Jefferson curl. This exercise puts the spine into flexion, which most people do not do enough in their daily life. Now, you don't have to use a lot of weight to start off with this exercise, and even just your own body weight will do fine for beginners. The aim for this exercise is for you to think about articulating the spine one vertebra at a time as you're going down and as you're coming up. So you think about from the top, you're going to be leading with the neck, and as you're coming back up to standing, you're going to lead the move with your tailbone. As you see here, I'm using a stick. However, using a little bit of extra weight will help you to be able to get lower and to get a deeper stretch. So don't be afraid to use a little bit of weight, but make sure that you can control the whole move by articulating one vertebra at a time, rounding your back through the full range, from the top to the bottom. With the arch into box, the most important cue is that you lead the movement with your head and you keep your posterior tilt locked into place. So butt squeezed, abs switched on, and lead the movement with the top of the head. You're going to touch something behind you at a height that you're comfortable with currently, and then pull back into position with your abs. It doesn't matter where you stop at this moment, all that matters is that you keep controlled and you move through the motion slowly and fluidly. Half rotations to bridge. This will strengthen your shoulders, your upper back and your hips, all very important in back bending and mobilizing the posterior chain. You place the hand behind you and then you push the hips up to the sky, reaching over with the other hand as far as you are currently comfortable. The most important thing is that you do this with control and that you don't fall back but rather reach back. Think about opening up the chest to the ceiling and pushing through your shoulder blade. So push into the ground super hard with your hand, try to get the hips up and try to reach over as far as you can. With this stretch, we're going to focus on full rounding.
Why are you
and full
talking to me when I'm
arching of the
recording?
back.
Makes sense.
On the top, I think about separating the shoulder
I have
blades.
the sound.
At the bottom, I think about doing a nice curve in my lower back and looking up to the ceiling.
Record. Not cooking
Rounding
anything, I'm done.
and then
Cooking.
arching, looking up, stretching the whole spine from the neck to the lower back.
I love ya.
You will need a foam roller or some yoga blocks or something to lay your shoulder blades on. Assume a nice position where the top of your shoulder blades are resting on the object. Take a weight and then slowly lower the weight behind you. You want to reach the floor but not actually touch the floor with your weight because you want to stay active in those shoulders. This one opens the upper back super nice as well as strengthening the lats. With the palm peel-aways, you begin with your fingers facing towards you and you aim to peel the palm off the floor while keeping your fingers down on the floor. Your aim is to touch your elbows to the floor eventually, however now you can stop wherever you currently are. Just think about peeling the back of the palm and trying to get the elbows down. Doing it with one hand is a little bit easier than with two hands. And you can also regress by aiming to touch the shoulder first. So it will be shoulder and eventually the elbow will go down as well. You can play with both variations, one hand or two hands. The forearm extensions, it's super important to keep the fists glued together the whole time. So you place your elbows on the floor and then you try to think about extending and straightening your elbows as you keep your fists glued to the ground and glued to each other. This one will stretch your whole forearm, wrists and fingers. In the wrist raises, you assume a push-up position, turn the crook of the elbows to point forward and take your thumbs off the floor. From this position, you keep the elbows locked and you go up and down into a push-up position only into your fingertips. The thumbs stay off the floor the whole time and the crook of the elbow points forward. You go nice and slow and make sure that you press really high into the fingers. You can even do it eccentrically, where you press up on your knees and you lower down in a push-up position. Again, thumbs do not touch the floor, we're only working the finger joints here. In the one leg good morning, you want to make sure that you arch your lower back and you keep it arched throughout the whole movement. Your standing working leg is locked and you're going to lower down towards the floor as far as you can maintain the arch in your lower back. Imagine you're trying to squish something in between of your hip flexor whilst getting the belly button towards the floor. Working leg is locked and the other leg stays close to the ankle. Try to maintain balance because balance is also a very important part of mobility. Do not kick the leg back like I'm doing here. Instead, keep it nice, close and tight and imagine pulling your tailbone up to the sky. The runner's stretch. Basically what you want to focus on here is flexing the toe towards you as you go down and then pointing as you go up. The sensation of coming down with a flexed foot will increase the stretch on the hamstring, as will the sensation of pulling the hip backwards. You want to imagine like you're pulling your hip socket in towards your butt and lowering down as far as you can. In the one leg pike hold, assume a short lunge position and tense your front quad. Posterior pelvic tilt, squeeze the abs and make sure both hips are pointing forward. Do not turn your back leg out, but make sure that both heels are flat on the floor and pointing forward. You're going to fold over as far as you're comfortable and aim to keep both heels flat on the ground throughout the whole time. Think about keeping your core nice and tight and really pulling over your front leg. Use your abs to pull you down and back up. You can regress this move by elevating your front foot onto a box and then cueing exactly the same instructions as if you were on the floor. Make sure you're folding over your front hip and using your abs to pull you up and down from the position. You can even hold a stretch in that last repetition. Sit on a box that's high enough to allow you to keep your back arched and flat throughout the whole time. You can bend your legs, make sure your lower back is arched, make sure you're sitting on your sit bones, and think about lowering the belly button to the floor as you keep your core nice and tight. Using weight here will assist you, however make sure the weight is light enough that you can control, but heavy enough that allows you to get into position. Similar to the seated, our aim is to push the butt back whilst keeping the lower back nice and flat. Think about squishing something in between your hip flexors as you keep the knees slightly unlocked and pushing that butt back. Again, using weight here will help. Also think about ripping the floor apart with your feet and creating tension throughout the whole time. With the diagonal stretch, you're going to assume a lunge position. Place your opposite hand on your chest and reach back to touch something on your back leg. Now turn your front foot slightly out and you can bend your knee. You can bend your front knee when first starting out, it's fine. You want to be able to reach something though, so pick a target. If that's your hamstring, calf, knee, ankle, over time you're going to be able to get lower and lower in that position. Think about twisting from the upper back and not the lower back. Over time, you want to be able to straighten that front leg and be able to do the same thing while reaching back. In the active pigeon, we assume a lunge position. Most of the weight will be on the front heel, so you want to think about digging that front heel into the floor as you externally rotate the knee towards the floor. The back leg stays off the floor, does not touch, and most of the weight is in the front heel. With the hip extensions, you're going to grab one knee towards your chest and you're going to push your hips up to the sky. Think about posterior tilt or doing like a small crunch in your lower belly and pushing through the working heel. Keep squeezing that knee into your chest as you go up. With the straight leg, it's a similar concept, but now you're keeping the toe pointed, the leg straight, and pushing through that working heel again. Same concept with the belly, try to think about crunching. Spine is flat on the ground in the bottom position, and then pushing through the heel on the way up.